It should be no secret that Sonic Unleashed is the greatest Sonic game known to mankind, and heck, the greatest video game known to mankind as well. And one of the reasons it is so great is of course the actual levels. And with there being so many great levels in Sonic Unleashed, the question is, which ones are the best ones and which one are the worst ones? Well, in today's video, I will aim to answer that, as I will rank every single level from Sonic Unleashed, including the DLC. Now, originally I was going to include the Sonic Unleashed Wii levels in this game, but in today's video it's going to be the HD versions, and the reason for that is because upon actually playing the Werehog levels from the Wii version, I started to realise that I don't want to play this, man. This sucks ass. Like, I'm sorry, I do not like the Wii Werehog in the slightest. For flip's sake, I hate this game! Ugh! So if people really want to see my opinions on the Sonic Unleashed Wii levels at some point, then maybe I'll make a follow-up video in the future at some point, but for now, only the HD version's levels. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let us rank every single level in Sonic Unleashed. Starting off at the bottom of the E tier, we have Tornado Defense Act 1. Yeah, that's right, I'm going to include this level and the other one because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a level in Sonic Unleashed, and it's a pretty crap one at that too. Now, when it comes to tornado levels in the Sonic series, they've never actually been any good, really, except for a couple of them. I think Lost World had a pretty good one in Hidden World Zone 2, and I like the Sonic 4 one, honestly. I kind of like the Sky Fortress Act 1. But then apart from that, they've all been kind of mediocre. I mean, Sky Chase, meh. Sky Chase in Sonic Mania, meh. But then when it comes to the 3D games, they suck even worse because there's no platforming at all. I mean, in Sonic Adventure 1, you can literally just place Sonic at the top left of the screen and then you can just sit there, put the controller down and beat the level with no problems. And now, even though in Sonic Unleashed these levels actually require some effort, it's the effort that I really cannot be bothered putting in. Like, this is not a level, it's just a series of QTEs that lasts way too long and there's a lot of waiting in between. Like, I hate playing this level so much because even in a speedrun, every single level in the game, you can do something to make it go faster. But nope, not these levels. And it wouldn't be so bad if it was like near halfway through the game or something, because at least you've played some of the game beforehand, but no. This is the third level, well technically fourth level in the game that you will play so early on in the speedrun. And it is just not fun to play because even if you mess up once in the level going for the S rank, like say you miss like a hit combo or something, then it resets, you have to exit the level and do it all over again. And while that isn't actually a bad thing as an idea, trying to do this level from beginning to end over and over again if you fail it once is just taking the mick now. So for that reason, I'm putting it at the bottom of the E tier. Sorry Sonic Unleashed, but not every single level in here was a banger. And same goes for the next level, as we're the top of the E tier now, Tornado Defense Act 2. And the only reason I put this level above the other one is because even though again the gameplay sucks, it does add to the atmosphere so much better. Like when you enter this level for the first time, you know things are getting real now. It really is the beginning of the end. Because after this you go straight to Eggman Land, and this is gonna look a nice breather in between. Like I don't mind this level as much as the previous level because of its placement in the game. It takes place like right before Eggman Land, so you've had like an entire game to actually play through before, so like for example during a speedrun, it's not too bad, but nevertheless still 5 minutes of nothing. But yeah, let's move on to the bottom of the D tier, which is Windmill Isle Night Act 2. The worst level in the game that is not a tornado level. I don't know what they were really thinking with this level, honestly. I really do not, because this level is just opening doors. That's the entire level. I wish I could say I'm over exaggerating here, but I'm not. That is literally the entire level, opening doors. There's not a single ounce of platforming to be seen here. You're just opening doors, moving stones around, and then you get one final Titan battle at the end, and that's the level. And there's just nothing to enjoy by this level at all, in my opinion, because you can't enjoy the combat here because, well, the enemies go down so quickly, and then you can't enjoy the platforming here because, well, there's no platforming. If you want to speedrun this level, you have two options here. Either one, probably glitch through a door or something, that's probably what you do, or two, memorize which door has what in it, and with there being so many doors, that is just not fun to do. So yeah, that is why this level is the worst level in the game, apart from Tornado obviously. But yeah, next up we have Rooftop Run Night Act 1-2. And this is one of the DLC levels for Sonic Unleashed. And generally, in my personal opinion, I think the DLC for this game is great, but unfortunately, this is definitely the weakest level in the game. And the reasoning for that is because it just takes the worst part of Rooftop Run Act 1 Night and just turns it into the entire level, that being opening the doors in the streets. This level literally has zero platforming. It's all just going through people's houses, knocking on their doors, and if they don't answer, well, screw you, then open up the door anyways, rob them of the money, then hit a switch to spawn some enemies, and rinse and repeat until the level is done. And this is one of the longer levels as well in the game, which is even more annoying because it's so flipping boring. It's like 5 minutes long of just doing the same thing over and over again. It just takes the worst aspect of every single Werehog level and puts it into one level and chucked it out as a DLC level for whatever reason, and yeah, it just sucks. Like, I'm personally an avid Werehog enjoyer, but this level right here, this one ain't it, Chief, I'm sorry. But now next up we have Arid Sands Day Act 2. And this is one of the small extra acts in the game for the daytime levels, and you can definitely tell that is because this level is shock just QTEs. But at the very least it's short and, you know, not an entire 5 minutes of unskippable stuff, so it's not that bad, and at least get some moments of breather room where you can just actually walk around and find some medals here and there, so it's not that bad, but at the end of the day it's still just QTEs. And that's a similar issue with the next level, which is Savannah Citadel Day Act 2, where this level is just drifting. Now, despite only being drifting, this level is pretty satisfying to nail down because Sonic Unleashed Drift actually requires some effort to think about and master. And because it actually requires some skill to use, many people hate it for that, which is well, I guess it's Sonic fans nowadays, I suppose. But even though I do find it fun and satisfying to master the drift, at the end of the day, it's still just drifting. I really don't understand what Kishimoto saw in this level in particular to bring it back in Sonic Frontiers, because it was even worse in that game. Like, Kishimoto, the level wasn't that good. He did have to bring it back a second time, but whatever, suppose. Like, the reason the levels in Sonic Unleashed and Generations are so good is because you have all the mechanics combined into one level. When you make a level based off only one of those mechanics of Sonic's moveset, it turns out quite boring because the reason they're so fun in the first place is because they use it in tandem with everything else. And that's why just having a level based around QTEs and then just the drift is not that great because, again, it's just a singular mechanic. But anyways, now for the top of the D tier, we have Skyscraper Scamper Day Act 2. Now, I can't lie, this level kind of annoys me a bit because Sonic's controls in this game are very loose and... why did I say loose like that? Loose? What the hell? But yeah, having Sonic be so loose in this game and having such tight areas to actually boost on makes lining up just to start running very annoying because you just slip off time and time again. But I won't lie, it is kind of satisfying to actually nail it perfectly, but again, at the end of the day, this is literally just a bunch of quick stepping. But the reason this is actually better than the other ones, at least, is because this requires a lot more effort because there's at least some platforming here. But the reason it's not at C tier quite yet because it ends in like 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds. If it was longer, maybe it could have even jumped an entire tier upwards to maybe like top of the C, but yeah, for right now, fortunately, it's at the top of the D tier. Which takes us to the bottom of the C tier, starting off with Skyscraper Scamper Day Act 3. And I want you to take a guess about why I don't like this stage all that much. Yep. Well, that's right, because they take one singular mechanic about Sonic's moveset and turn it into an entire level, this time being the quick step. Now, at the very least, in this instance of quick stepping, the obstacles are at least somewhat difficult to dodge, but again, at the end of the day, it's just quick stepping. And for this being only one of 2 DLC levels for Empire City Day, it is kind of underwhelming because the level's so short as well. And even getting an S rank isn't that hard since near the end of the level, they just spring you with bazillion rings for whatever reason. Like, bro, calm down. We are literally in America right now. The IRS are not gonna like Sonic picking up all this random money just laying on the top of a building. Actually, you know what? This stage should have been laid out backwards, actually. We start out on the top of this roof, Sonic gets all this free money, then you go into all the quickstepping because Sonic is basically committing tax evasion. It makes perfect sense that way. Come on, man, what were they thinking? Were they even thinking? I don't know, man. I blame Kishimoto personally. He hadn't reached his prime back in 2008 yet. Like, guys, I think we should cut him some slack, actually. Anyways, yeah, next up we have Rooftop Run Day Act 5, and it's just homie attacking. And that's it. But to be fair, it's some of the most in-depth homie attacking I've seen in a Sonic game, so it's a decent level for that. But again, say it with me, isolating a part of Sonic's moveset and turning it into a level makes for not that great of a level. And you know why else I hate this level? Because it cost me the Sonic Unleashed DLC race. What? Why?
Oh, so we didn't hit the S rank, but we moved. It's okay, we'll just move on. Too bad Unleashed can't.
Anyways, yeah, moving on, we have Rooftop Run Day Act 3. And this is just a short 2D level where you gotta just collect 10 Chao, and that's really it, to be honest. If it was longer and maybe had more interesting 2D platforming, maybe it could have been higher, but it's just a short, kind of not that interesting level where you just find Chao and that's it. Anyways, next up we have Rooftop... Again! How much Rooftop Run is there here, bro? What's going on? But yeah, Rooftop Run, Day Act 4. And shock, it's mid here because it says quick stepping. And fun fact about this level actually, they take this exact same level geometry and chuck this into the final part of Rooftop Run Act 2 in Sonic Generations. But yeah, I do like this one more than the Skyscraper Scamper quick stepping thing because in this one you got to actually hop over stuff and actually clear big gaps. So for that, he gets a bit of a point bonus there. But now next up we have Windmill Isle Day Act Uno. And yeah, I think it's pretty obvious why this level is here. I mean, it's just a tutorial stage, right? It's gonna do nothing crazy because it's teaching you how to play the game. This was the first time you've seen the boost formula played out in 3D, and it actually requires a lot more thinking than just the adventure formula in terms of the controls and whatnot. So yeah, having something like this is yeah, expected. But yeah, because this is a tutorial level, it's not going to be that high, but to be fair to it, it is still pretty fun to speedrun, and it was so good that Kishimoto thought to put it in Sonic Frontiers as the first level in the game. Anyways, next up we have Savannah Citadel Day Act 3-2. And this is a spin on the regular Act 3 in the game, where instead of just getting to the goal now, you just have to collect 200, or is it 300 rings actually? I think it's 300, and yeah, get to the goal. And to be honest with you, I kinda prefer the regular Act more. There was a nice open-endedness about which way you could take to get to the goal ring in the original level, and while that is still partly here, there is one very specific way you have to get to the goal, and it's not as fun as the original level, to be honest. The act of actually going to get the rings and just kind of memorizing how much you need from which area, which is the fastest way to get rings and all that is yeah, pretty fun, but at the end of the day, I still just prefer the original level, to be honest. And yeah, it's also quite a short level too, so there's always that. Speaking of short levels, next up we have Jungle Joyride Day Act 3. And this is basically take the first part of Act 1 and turn it into an entire level. That is 30 seconds. And granted, it's more in-depth than the Act 1 portion, but it's still just quick stepping, and we know what we've said about that a bazillion times. If it was actually a long level, it would have been fine, because quick stepping on the docks is actually more interesting than just doing it on a flat straight road where there's no consequences. But that's not what it was, because it's just 30 seconds, so what a shame. And yeah, next up we have Jungle Joyride Day Act 5, and again, these ones are so short for Jungle Joyride. I don't know why. All the extra levels are all so short, including the DLC. And it's such a shame because what we get in these extra levels is really nice, but they end way too quickly. It's like Sonic Forces, but with actually decent level design. But yeah, this one opens up with a lot of cool water running, a lot of things to avoid. Yeah, pretty cool. Then you go into one of those quick stepping section with the 3 aero chases, but this time on water. It was actually a pretty untouched concept, and even though it is still just a 3-lane thing we've seen a bazillion times, the novelty of it being on water is still pretty cool. Then we go to a pseudo Lost World section with the tubes or whatever, then we go to our final water section, and then it ends in 45 seconds, mind you. If this stage was just longer, it could have been like a B tier minimum, but no, it's just so short, and I don't know why. This is literally the last area before Eggman lands, so why are all the extra acts so short? Honestly, you know what they should have done? Combine all the extra acts into just one level and make it one full long level. Could have been maybe even an A tier level right there. Who knows? Because next up again from Jungle Joyride Day is Act 4. And it's the same issue as the other two, really. I mean, why is it so short? They're so sweet, but so short. I don't understand. And what makes this one better than the other two is that it combines water running with actual platforming. So, you know, I love me a bit of platforming than just quick stepping and everything. But yeah, I want to see if it's possible. Someone should honestly just make a mod where they combine this Act 3, Act 4, and Act 5 into one full level. I don't know how that would fare because all the different terrain or whatever, but maybe kind of like a Cyberspace level or something. I don't know, where you just combine it, have it like floating in the air or something. I don't know. Because I really see the potential of combining all these into one level and having it be like one of the greatest extra acts in the game, really. But yeah, next up it is time for the wretched level. Savannah Citadel Day Act 4, the giraffe level. And if you aren't familiar with the giraffe is a foul beast, let me tell you. Upon entering the level and moving an inch forward, there is a chance that this giraffe, this bloody giraffe, will smite you down and kill you. Heck, you don't even have to move forward. There's a chance where you can just die on spawn somehow.
Know about the twin needles.
It doesn't. I died on start! The giraffe killed me when I spawned! The giraffe does now! The twin needs are attacking me!
So yeah, this level definitely makes a name for itself, but apart from the giraffe, it's really not that interesting. It's just a vertical climb to the top, and even though there are some cool shortcuts here and there, it's not that interesting, mostly focusing on wall jumping working on some QTE launches. Right, next up we have Dragon Road Day Act 3. Another level that Kishimoto thought was so good that it needed to be a cyberspace level in Sonic Frontiers. Kishimoto, you are a strange one. But yeah, this level is basically the spinning discs from Act 1 turned into a 30-second level. You know, I'm really starting to get sick of these extra acts being so short, because while they are basically just taking one small aspect of the main level and turning it into a smaller level, they could have been better if they were just longer, really. I enjoy just playing this level and going through it quickly. It's fun to just bounce from platform to platform, but it's just too short, man. It just ends too quickly. I think I might say the same thing I said with the Jungle Joyride, where I think we should combine this with the later extra acts in this game with Act 4 and Act 5, because those ones aren't that long either, so just combine it with this one, to be honest. But yeah, next up we have Windmill Isle Day Act 3, a level that Kishimoto didn't actually copy this time, but he saw inspiration from it. But in terms of the original level itself, it's decent. It's a decent level. What really helps make this level actually a whole lot better than it actually is the fact that we have rail momentum in Sonic Unleashed. Homie attacking onto a rail will send you flipping flying, mate, because of the power of momentum. And this level is basically all about controlling your speed on the rails, jumping to go slower, obviously homie attacking to go faster, knowing which path to take because sometimes the upper path is actually slower. So yeah, all in all, it's a pretty decent level. It's just there's a lot on rails, really, and yeah. That's just a bit too short too. And speaking of short levels, up next we have Savannah Citadel Act 2 Night. And this happens to be the shortest night level in the game, being able to be beaten in under a minute. And I find that really funny because back in the day, I used to absolutely hate this level because I used to find it very difficult because, well, I mean, just look at it, man. You've got all these tightrope thingies that you can't hang onto the sides with. It's flipping, it looks difficult, man, it just looks it. But then when you realise that you can actually get good and use the warehouse moves to traverse easily, it becomes very, very easy. So overall, some decent platforming here, I just wish it was, well, yeah, a bit longer. And next up, we have Windmill Isle Night Act 1-2, the first Werehog DLC level that you'll most likely be playing in the game, and yeah, it's decent. It's basically the second half of Windmill Isle Night Act 1, but backwards. The first half of this level is actually pretty good, a lot of platforming here that I do like quite a bit. But then with the second half, I don't like it as much because it's just moving around 4 stones to put on those pedestals, and then you've got some enemies here, and to be honest with you, it's faster to just leave them alone, most of them at least anyways. But yeah, then after this little section here, the level just ends, and yeah, it's a bit of a short level in my opinion. It's only about 2-ish minutes. And this here is a perfect example of why I think that Werehog levels cannot be short if you're going to mix combat and platforming, because you're only going to get a small dose of platforming and a small bit of combat, which means that they're never actually going to go that in depth. If this level was like this, but for the entirety of Windmill Isle Act 1 Night backwards, it would have been a whole lot better. But no, sadly they just chop it off when it was starting to get good, so that's a real shame there. And now on to the next level, which is Dragon Road Night Act 1-2. And this level is actually the scrapped second half of the original level, because everything in this level was supposed to be in the original, but for whatever reason, it all got scrapped, and which is why Dragon Road Night always felt like one of the shorter night levels in the game, because it cut half of the level. But at the very least, the part that they did cut off was actually the weaker half of the level, which is Act 1-2 here, because there's not a lot of platforming here, mostly just combat and just pushing switches. And because of that, there's not really much to say about this level, because there's not much to do here. Definitely do wish that this was actually kept as part of the final level in the original game, because a lot of what is here is what I feel like the original level needed to have. But staying in Dragon Road, we have Dragon Road Day Act 4, another DLC level, and yeah, like I said earlier, another one that's too short and should be combined with some of the other acts really, because this is actually a pretty cool level. You got some cool 3D platforming where you got to time some homie attacks or whatever. Then even a pretty cool 2D section here as well, where you gotta wait for these things to come spinning around from one side of the 2D section to the other. But then when the level starts getting really good, it just, again, ends. Definitely should have been combined with Act 3 because they're both too short levels, at least put them together to make it at least like 1:30 or something. That would have been decent. And next up we have yet again another Act 4, which is Cool Edge Day Act 4. And this is another level which Kishimoto thought was so great, so geniusly designed that he thought, let's inspire one of the levels in Sonic Frontiers with this one. But unfortunately for Kishimoto, what he failed to realise is that the reason this level actually works in Sonic Unleashed as opposed to Sonic Frontiers is because this game's air boost is actually good. When you air boost in Sonic Generations and Sonic Unleashed, you actually get distance with it, which makes this level pretty cool because the game sends you into the air many times, and you've got to make a very quick decision before you end up falling into the drink below. And yeah, overall this level is pretty fun, but the reason it's only in C tier is because I feel like, even though the idea itself is cool, it does get a bit repetitive because I don't think they do enough with it to make it that interesting, and it's also a bit too short. It gets more interesting in the second half when you go back to the beginning again, but that's all it really does, and even though it's cool in the first half, I still want to see some more interesting stuff with it. Like maybe having you do some more dodging in the air before pressing the air boost button just to make it more interesting, just stuff like that pretty much. Maybe if the level was actually a bit longer, they could have done something like that, but alas, they didn't, so oh well. And now the next level on the list is Coolidge Day Act 3. And this is another level that's based pretty much on drifting, and the reason this is actually a whole lot better than Savannah Citadel Day Act 2 is because this actually has some objects on the track. You've got spikes to dodge pillars of ice falling down onto the water, and there's a lot more to master here than I feel like they did in Act 2 of Savannah Citadel Day. And even though it still is only a C tier, I don't think you can really change too much about this level. I mean, not every single level in the game has to be S tier. You can have your quick fun levels just like this one where it isn't doing anything too crazy, but again, that's okay because it's just a fun time to be honest. Shout out to this level's visuals by the way, I really like the way this level looks, it's a very cool aesthetic here, very nice. And the same goes for the next level, which is Savannah Citadel Day Act 3, the non-DLC version of the level that we talked about earlier. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, this is actually a very open-ended level, because there are so many ways to like mix and match different pathways, like maybe go to the top pathway in lap 1, lap 2 go to the bottom, then lap 3 go to the middle, and it's just fun to mix and match to be honest. You can have like 5 different playthroughs of this level and have them each be different to each other. It's that crazy of a level, and it's just unfortunately way too damn short. It's like a 30-second level, but despite it being so short and being 2D, it's a very fun level overall. Just again, please just make it longer, come on. Anyways, next up, we have Dragon Road Knight Act 2. And whoever was working on the development team for this game and made this level in particular, they are flipping evil. Kishimoto, you monster. So the whole gimmick of this level is basically moving around those stones, which sounds pretty boring, but the designers wanted to make sure that it was not boring in the slightest, because you were going to be crossing gaps with Sonic that you can barely make while holding the stone thing, and then walking across so many tight beams where you can basically fall off at any second. And even though it's a flipping crazy level to play because it's scary as hell, I can kind of respect it, but despite that, it's not that interesting of a level on replays, because there aren't actually that many ways to make it go any faster, because it doesn't matter what you do, how fast you go, you have to carry those stones to complete the level. And there isn't really a whole lot Sonic can actually do while holding the stones, so that does kind of hold back this level quite a bit. If Sonic's movement was more interesting when holding the stones, it could have been pretty cool, but alas, it's not, so we're just stuck with well, just moving him about, I suppose. But on to the next level, we have Arid Sands Day Act 3, which is basically Rooftop Run Day Act 3 where you're collecting the Chao, but this time in 3D. And it's actually kind of a weird level because usually in Sonic Unleashed Day levels, you don't really want to be slowing down to complete the level unless you're like searching for medals or something, but no, here you have to do that now because you're getting the Chao. And having so many places to actually explore here is kind of weird, but also I kind of like it. Now the Chao aren't that difficult to find really, it's just about just getting to them. And the journey to getting to each Chao is pretty fun. There are some cool platforming challenges here and there, and some little enemy sections where you got to defeat all them, and some weird sections where you have to actually slow down to a crawl. Like, why is this in a daytime level? This feels like something that should be in a warehouse level or something, but whatever, I suppose. But what holds this level back for me, I think, is the pacing, because for some strange reason, they bring in a lot of those weird camera pans that the warehouse levels have, where you do something, then the game stops you for a moment to show you where they actually need to go next with a weird camera pan that is so slow. And they all just severely hurt the pacing because there are so many of them in this level. Every time you defeat a group of enemies, boom, camera pan. Every time you press a button, boom, camera pan. Like, brother, let me just play the damn level. I know where to go. I ain't that stupid. And yeah, those stupid camera pans really just hurt the pacing of this level and just warehouse levels in general. Like, I thought the daytime levels would have been fine without them, but no, apparently they were not going to survive either. If it weren't for those camera pans ruining the whole flow of this level, it could have been maybe a low B tier level, honestly. It could have been, but yeah, for that reason, it's going to sit right here in the C tier. And it's a shame too, because it's got some decent 3D platforming stuff here and there, but yeah, I think too many enemy rooms here, and those stupid camera pans are what just bring it down a bit. But now next up we have Arid Sands Night Act 2, another level where they introduce the scrapped half of the main level into a DLC level. And honestly, thank God they kind of scrapped the second half of Arid Sands Night, because if they kept this half in it as well, I think a lot of people might just give it up on this level and never beaten the game, because Arid Sands Night Act 1 in its current state is not a short level, and for them to add even a second half to it would have been crazy. But yeah, talking about this actual level now, yeah, it's got some decent platforming, some okay combat, it's just an alright level overall. You just gotta be careful not to get lit on fire, because if you do, you're basically dead, because specifically in the DLC levels, fire is like 10 times damage than usual. But yeah, the reason this level is only in the C tier is because it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Warehouse levels from a fundamental standpoint cannot be short, because you've got to mix both platforming and combat in them. So if you're gonna have a short level, you've got to either focus on platforming only or combat only. but this level does not do that and goes for both, which means that you don't get enough platforming, but in this specific instance I think we get a decent amount of combat, to be honest. But yeah, the platforming part is just not very apparent here, unfortunately. I do like how they emphasize a lot on throwing things at enemies in this level. You only have to do that really in, I think, Savannah Citadel Night, and apart from that, not much at all, so I like to see that you actually bring it back a bit here. It's pretty fun. But yeah, apart from that, it's a decent second half of Eridan's Night, and speaking of that level, next up we have Eridan's Night Act 1. And in terms of main night levels, this is definitely the weakest one in the game, because there's literally zero platforming in this level. It's nowhere to be seen. It's either combat and just moving stones around. And me saying that might have you wonder why it's so high on this list anyways, because usually I'm a fan of platforming, and if this level is not platforming, then why do I think it's this high on the list? Well, the simple reason is that even though there's a lot of combat here, it requires thought, which can't be said for a lot of the Werehog's combat in this game. Since the enemies here actually put up a bit of a fight, it's actually quite fun to, you know, manage to unleashed gauge pretty well here, decide which enemies need to die first, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, despite there being literally zero platforming here, the fact that the combat actually requires thought saves it a bit, but obviously not too much because it's still only combat and not platforming, and I don't play a Sonic game for combat, I play it for platforming. I do wonder how the level would play out if the second scrapped half of the level was here though. Would I think the level was better that way because it would be a bit longer? I don't know, because this level is still, like I said already, not that short of a level. And before we move on to the next level, can I just say that the infamous stairs in this level, get over it, mate. They're not that hard, mate. Just get good, cry about it, mate. Get good, mate, honestly. And if you still don't like the infamous stairs, well, have I got the clip for you? Just play the clip, honestly. Yeah, you could just skip that entire part right there. Don't even bother with the stairs if you don't like it that much. Just do that, mate. It's easier. Anyways, on to the next level. We have Jungle Joyride Night Act 1-2. And this is another DLC level in the game where they take a portion of the main act but do it backwards. And I think this is definitely one of the better interpretations of them doing that because they actually introduced a lot more platforming here that wasn't in the original. And there's also some decent combat here and there, but again, what I think this suffers from is being too short, which means that you can't balance out platforming and combat very well. Because in this scenario, I feel like combat and platforming were both lacking here. The only combat that you're really going to do here is against the 3 titans near the end of the level, and that's really about it. But then when it comes to the platforming, there's only one really decent section like halfway through, and then that's all the platforming for the level, so it just leaves me wanting a bit more because it's so short. But now we reach the top of the C tier with Jungle Joyride Night Act 2. I was very happy to find out that Jungle Joyride Night got another act in the main game because it's visually and musically one of the best levels in the game. And even though this level right here isn't one of the greatest ones in the entire game, it's still decent. It's still decent. I mean, for starters, the aesthetic is even more beautiful here somehow. Don't know how they did that, but it's very nice looking here. And the platforming in this level is pretty interesting because you got a lot of timing here that you gotta wait to make sure you don't fumble the bag. But then the thing where this level falls down a bit is I think there's a bit too much combat here. I mean, after the first platforming section, which is very short, mind you, you get a very long combat section clocking in about maybe a minute or something. Then you get about 20 seconds more of platforming, then boom, back to another like 1 minute combat section. Then they bring back the button gimmick with the flower on it and whatever from Act 1. But this time it's actually a lot more interesting because all the buttons aren't in a perfect order, so you gotta figure out which one is which. But yeah, then after figuring that out, you end with another minute combat section, and yeah, there's just a lot of combat here, and I think it's more than it was actually needed. And it especially hurts here because the platforming that is in this level is actually a whole lot of fun. We literally get barely any of it, like probably less than a whole minute the entire level. But at least the combat's fun, I suppose. It's quite mindless, so you just get a bit of unleash in the corner and you're basically solid for the entire level. But yeah, that being said, it's now time for the bottom of the B tier, starting off with Jungle Joyride Night Act 3. And this time we get a lot of platforming, but I think honestly, not enough combat. I mean, context wise, this is most likely going to be the final DLC level that people play. So you really do expect them to go out with a bang, but I feel like this level in terms of combat doesn't do that, and we'll get into the reason as to why that is the case later on. But in terms of platforming, yeah, there's actually a pretty strong level with that. This level is a cool gimmick where you gotta raise the water levels and drop it down a bit as well for some secrets and whatnot, and in general, yeah, pretty fun. And I forgot to mention it earlier, but this level is actually once again another scrapped second half of Act 1, which is why Act 1 felt so short, because this Act 3 right here, this is basically all the second half that was cut from the first act. But you have to climb to the top of this little area here with all the platforming and whatnot. You reach this set of stairs right here, which is obviously clearly the end of the level right here. There's nowhere else to go, this is it. And since this is the final DLC level in the game, you kind of expect something to not feel right here. I mean, it just looks too easy, right? A big set of stairs is going up towards a big center goal thing here. It's gotta be harder than that. Like, what I was thinking right here when I first played it was that, okay, we got 3 levels for this staircase right here. So the first level, there's gonna be an enemy room right here. Kill some enemies, boom, done here. Then we go to the first set of stairs, and then boom, more enemies here. Obviously proceed, and then for the final level right here, we get like a titan or something. But you get none of that, and you just walk straight up all the stairs with 0 interruptions, and then when you reach the top of the stairs, you get greeted with like the most pathetic set of enemies known to man. And then the level just ends. Like, what? What happened here? This is supposed to be the final DLC level in the game, and you end it on that anticlimactic ending? Really? I mean, I guess it is extra content, so we can't really complain all too much, but I can't help feeling a bit, I don't know, a bit disappointed by this level, to be honest. I mean, the platforming was fun, but I really expected the combat to go a whole lot more harder in this final section. I really thought there was going to be like 3 levels of combat on these sets of stairs here. But no, but it is what it is, I suppose. Oh well. Right, next up we have Dragon Road Day Act 5. And this is another DLC level which requires you to go through many laps of a level, but this time in 3D, and there's actually a lot of war running here. And I think the only thing hurting this level is once again the length, because I don't really have a single problem with this level. There's nothing here that breaks the pace, it's fast, there's lots of things to avoid here, and there's plenty of areas for you to explore and actually take shortcuts in, so overall, a great level, just wish it was a bit longer. And now next up we have Savannah Citadel Night Act 3. And this is another level that once again I feel like has a bit of a problem with mixing platforming and combat, because it's once again quite a short level for Werehog standards, but thankfully there's a lot more platforming here than combat, so I do like it more than others for that reason. Yeah, basically this entire level is mostly just using the pulse wing, and you have to push a lever or something, wait for some pulse to come out, and then you're basically in a time limit, you have to race to the end of it before it all goes back inside again. And using the Werehog's cool movement in this game, there's actually a lot of places to actually skip some stuff too. Now something I never really quite understood with this level was this weird white light that just follows Sonic throughout the entire level. I mean, you see at the start of the level, and then it goes away for a bit, then comes back on the results screen. Like, what is this? I mean, it kind of looks cool, I can't lie, but why does it like disappear for like a bit and then come back again? Bit weird. But now for one of the most iconic levels from Sonic Unleashed in my opinion, which is Windmill Isle Day Act 4. When you say the phrase Sonic Unleashed DLC, this is most likely the level that people will be thinking of. And it's for good reason too. This is, while it being quite a short level, it's one of the most interesting straight lines I've ever seen in a Sonic game, because that's essentially what this level is, a straight line. But they do so much with this straight line here that it just makes it a very fun level to go through. There are so many different types of hazards for you to avoid here. So if you got to slide under, jump over, attack through, platform over. This level really just has it all. I just wish it was a bit longer. Because when you properly know the movement in Sonic Unleashed, this level is a blast to go through. I mean, just watching my gameplay right now, is this just not satisfying to watch? It so damn is, and it's even better to play. This stage is just living proof that just because a Sonic level is linear does not mean it is bad. It's what you do with the linearity which defines whether it's bad or good, which is why Sonic Force has failed on so many levels. Not because it was linear, but because they do nothing with the linearity. But yeah, remaining in Apatos, we go on to Windmill Isle Night Act 1-3. And this is a level with absolutely zero platforming, and yet I enjoy it so much. And the reason for that is quite simple, because the combat actually requires a lot of effort to play. This level has the most difficult enemies to fight in the game, because they do a lot of damage to you, and they also have large health bars. And thankfully this stage also does not overstay its welcome. It's about 2.5 minutes or something like that, which for a level which is all about combat, I think that's the perfect length, honestly. But obviously it's only got combat in the level, and I don't play a Sonic game for combat, I play it for platforming, so it's only going to be a low B tier, but it's still fun combat nonetheless. If you try to button mash your way through this level, you will die many times. You really got to understand the little bits of the Werehog's moveset and the combat or whatever to get through this level perfectly, and for that reason, I think it's great. But now for the final Windmill Isle Night level here, which is Windmill Isle Night Act 1. And yeah, it's a pretty basic stage for the first Werehog level in the game, but despite being basic, it's still quite fun. You've got some decent platforming here, and also some decent combat here too that you can actually skip if you're actually quick about it. The thing holding this level back though is that these stupid annoying camera pans in this level are really jarring the second time around. Like, I understand them playing on the first time playthrough of the level, but going back and replaying the level is very annoying with these camera pans, because I already know where to go. You don't have to keep telling me every single time. It just ruins the flow of the level completely. Playing a modded version of of this level is so much better because it just removes all these camera pans and it is so much more fluid. And this is a common issue that just plagues the Werehog in its entirety, in my opinion, and unfortunately this affects this first level as well. And now moving on to the next level, we have Dragon Road Night Act 1. And this stage has the issue of being way too damn short, which is of course because it scrapped half the level during development. And it's such a shame too because the platforming and skips in this level are very fun to pull off. But then all of a sudden it just ends. And this level doesn't even have that many annoying camera pans either. It's got like one on the main path and that's really about it. So this level has the floor, the platforming, the skips, but it just misses out on the length, which is again a real shame. And the same goes for the next level, which is Jungle Joyride Night Act 1. Again, too short because again they scrapped half of it for Act 3. Again, the platforming, the little puzzle at the end, the skips here, the combat, it's all decent here, but again, it just ends way too quickly. And it's even more disappointing for this level in particular because technically in the story it's going to be like the second to last Werehog level that you're going to be playing, so why not have it difficulter? Is that a word? Don't know. And this level, like I said earlier, probably has the best visuals and music in the entire game, so again, for it to be so short is a damn shame. Anyways, next up we have Arid Sands Night Act 3, the final DLC level for Shamarr Knight. And this level again has the issue of being way too damn short, but at the very least the platforming here and skips or whatever are all very satisfying to pull off, and there's minimal combat here as well. And thankfully there's not a single pace breaker with the platforming here because, thank God, there are no annoying camera pans anywhere to be seen here. There's only one at the end which introduces a Titan and yeah, apart from that, none at all. Now many people don't like this level because of that Titan fight near the end, but of course, just get good, mate. That's all it is really, just get good. I really do like it when they put these Titans on these little platforms here because one wrong move and you're dead, so it just forces you to get good with the Werehog. And of course, because it requires brain power, that does mean that people don't like this level. How foolish. But yeah, next level up, we have Skyscraper Scamper Night Act 2. Now this level right here has a good balance of platforming, combat, and some skips, but the reason it wouldn't be high is because this has to be one of the most pace-breaking levels in the entire game, because they are absolutely relentless with the amount of camera pans in this level. Especially this one right here. My god, this one gets annoying because this skip that I do right here, I keep dying over and over again trying to do this one, and then the super camera pan ruins the floor every single time. This is what I mean with the Werehog, man. I enjoy the platforming, the combat, but these stupid pace breakers are really annoying in this game. But yeah, next level up, we have Rooftop Run Night Act 2. Decent combat, some really good platforming here, with a couple pace breaking things here and there, and unfortunately, it's one of the shorter levels in the game too. Well, at least for Werehog standards anyways. Right, next up, we have Dragon Road Night Act 3. Once again, good platforming, decent combat, and nothing too pace breaking with the platforming either. It's just once again, wish it was longer. That's basically what I feel like for most of the Werehog levels in the DLC. Like, they're really good, but I just wish they were longer. That's really it. Right, next up this bloody level is Rooftop Run Day Act 2. Another level where Kishimoto saw this and thought, this is flipping brilliant, let's put it in Sonic Frontiers. And there was a point in time where I used to think that this version was still better than the one in Sonic Frontiers, but upon replaying it for this tier list, I don't know, man. I might actually prefer the Sonic Frontiers version of this level because the controls and physics for this level in particular in Sonic Unleashed don't work too well in my opinion. Because like it or not, Sonic Unleashed's controls are unresponsive, especially when it comes to that goddamn homing attack. Sometimes Sonic will lock onto an enemy, you press the homing attack button, and he does nothing. And this happens way too often when I play this game, and it's even worse in this level because this level requires a lot of homing attacking over bottomless pits. Like, I think this one level in particular really does just show the jank of Sonic Unleashed daytime levels, because you do so much precise platforming here, loads of stuff with the QTE launchers, lots of light dashing, all that good stuff. It just feels so janky and just unsatisfying to play in my opinion. Like, the journey to getting the perfect run for this level in particular, I don't find it that fun compared to other levels in this game. And it's not a bad level, it's still okay and decent or whatever, but it's just the controls and physics, man. Like, I think Frontiers' version, I might actually prefer it over this one now. Maybe that opinion will change over time as it usually does, but as of right now, yeah, I can say that's Frontiers' version. I do actually prefer it over this one. Anyways, next up we have Savannah Citadel Day Act 5. And yeah, it's Sonic Dash, but with some decent 2D sections to break it up, so those honestly just save the entire level for me right now, because if it was just Sonic Dash the entire time, it would be quite mid, I won't lie. But the 2D is so good in this level that it carries it to a B tier, so yeah, that's all I got to say really. There's too much Sonic Dash here. Get rid of it all, honestly. I don't like it. I want actual 3D platforming and stuff, not this garbage stuff. What is this? Anyways, next up we have Cool Edge Night Act 3. And I've got to say, Cool Edge Night in general is pretty darn solid. Like both Cool Edge and Skyscraper Scamper Night both have banger DLC levels and a banger main level. It's great. But to talk about this one, obviously this is going to be the weakest one out of the bunch, because there isn't actually a whole lot of platforming to do here. It's mostly just some combat here and there, and then some moving of the stones around, and it's actually still quite fun, don't get me wrong, but I don't prefer it all too much to 3D platforming, let's be honest here. Which is why next up we have Savannah Citadel Night Act 4. And this level has a lot of 3D platforming, which is why I do enjoy it quite a lot, and yeah, some decent combat here too, and I just wish it was longer. I did actually know this up until recently, but this is actually the scrapped second half of Act 1. Like, yeah, there's a mod that actually combines both Act 1 and Act 4, and honestly, if this was actually the final level in the game, it would be a top 3 Werehog level. Like, I'm not even kidding with you right now. It genuinely would. Because combined with Act 1's platforming and skips, Act 4's platforming in general is just really, really good. It really is a damn shame that they got split in half, because they're both 2 really good halves. But yeah, now next up we have Cool Edge Day Act 2. One of the many good 2D side acts in this game, and it's got basically a lot of laps in here. Each one gets more intense as you go on, and it's just in general a fun level. I think it's a bit on the easier and the shorter side compared to most, but it's still fun nonetheless. It's got a very good flow, which can't be said for the next level, which is Skyscraper Scamper Night Act 3. And do you want to know why this level has 0 flow? That's right. Because every 5 seconds the pace gets broken with these damn camera angles. I don't need to see this every time. And this is one of the worst levels to have all this pace breaking in here, because the platforming is so good here. In this level you platform up to 2 skyscrapers, both of which have some titans at the end of them, but the platforming to get there has so many instances where the pace is just broken. Like, it just really just dragged down the entire level for me personally. Like, if it was of these stupid camera angles, it honestly would be an A tier level. And once again, the same goes for the next level, which is Cool Edge Night Act 2. The first 30 seconds of this level are all a camera angle. You walk forward 5 meters and the game spends like 20 seconds showing you how the gimmick of the entire level works, when you could just do it yourself. And do you want to know what's so annoying about this level? After the annoying introduction, there's basically 0 camera angles after that. It's all just platforming, combat, and boom. And it's the same thing as the previous level. If it wasn't for this annoying camera angle at the beginning, A tier level just like that. It genuinely cannot be understated how much pacing matters in a Sonic level. If the level design is very good in the level but the pacing is awful, it will tarnish the quality and the enjoyment of the level. Because you can't have so many good sections in a level that are spliced up by some bad sections, because at the end of the day, a bad section is a bad section, which means points will be taken off of the level, and pacing will affect the next level, which is Cool Edge Day Act 1. This level is ruined by the bobsled, because while I don't hate it, I don't want to be playing it over actual boost gameplay. Because when you're not in the bobsled in this level, it's a really good level. All the 3D sections are very good, because it's this constant action. You got shortcuts to take here and there, drifting to do things to avoid left, right and center. It's all great. Then for the 2D that isn't the bobsled, again, it's all good stuff. All the fast reactions I've seen in the 2D in Sonic Unleashed, it's all here. But the constant flip-flopping between Sonic and then the bobsled ruins the pacing of the level. Because this level's about 3 minutes long, and most likely for around half of it, you will be on this bobsled. Which means at the end of it, you only get about 1 minute 30 of actual Sonic gameplay, which is a bit of a shame, because it's all so good, but again, the pacing is awful. If there was only about 30 seconds maybe of the bobsled section, maybe it could have been an A tier, but I can't really confirm that, because again, the bobsled just isn't that interesting. And then we also can't forget the dreaded whale in this level. Oh, the bloody whale. But now, for the top of the B tier, we have Jungle Joyride Day Act 2. And honestly, despite this level not being an A tier, I think it's kind of overlooked by both the players and the developers, because I think nearly every single other Act 2 in the game got a Dash 2 in the DLC, but not this one for some reason. And that honestly kind of disappointed me a bit, because this base Act 2 is a really good beginning point. It's still the stage about going through 3 laps again, shock, but the laps actually themselves are pretty good. There's not a single bit of downtime in this level, because it's always fast reactions and vertical platforming. And it really is just a shame that this didn't get the Dash 2 treatment in the DLC, because as we see later on, Dash 2s are pretty great in this game, especially for the Act 2s. But yeah, with that, brings us to the bottom of the A tier, which is Dragon Road Day Act 2. The strongest 2D level from the base game. Again, another lapped level, but the laps are so good. Fast reactions, platforming, all that great stuff here. It's just great, there's nothing really more to say about it, it's just great. Anyways, next up we have Rooftop Run Day Act 2-2. And while it still suffers some of the control issues from obviously Sonic Unleashed in general, the level design here saves it, because it's a massive improvement over over the original Act 2 in my opinion. There's just a whole lot more going on now. You got platforming, fast reactions, homing attacking with actual timing involved. Then you got 3D sections to splice it up a bit here and there. Then you got timed air boosts. Like this level overall is pretty great. It's just the fact that it was built on kind of a not solid base. But despite that, they make a great level anyway, so who really cares? Anyways, next up we have Savannah Citadel Night Act 1. Honestly, when I came to making this tier list, I didn't think this level was going to be this high because I don't remember enjoying it that much, but no. Going back to it on a replay, this level is actually great, and that is because of the skips and the platforming in this level. There are so many ways to use the Werehog's movement in this level to speed up the pace, and speaking of pacing, there are still some of those annoying camera angles here and there, but yeah, you got basically back-to-back platforming because all the skips you can do, and then right at the end, a nice little combat room too to end it off. I really do wonder though, what would this stage be like? Like how would I rate it if it was combined with Act 4 like it was originally supposed to? I really do wonder, man, I really do, because this level's platforming and skips are also great, especially for the second level for the Werehog in the game. That is impressive. But of course, right above it, we have Savannah Citadel Day, Act 1. Now, I won't lie, the 3D in this level isn't all too impressive because 2 out of 3 3D sections in this level is just drifting in a straight line pretty much. That does kind of drag it down a bit, but because drifting in this game is so fun, I kind of don't mind it because, again, it's the second level in the game for Daytime Sonic. But then, of course, the 2D in this level carries because it's got brilliant flow. I really do like the branching pathways in the second 2D section. Like, there's a lot of ways to mix it up there, so pretty cool. And then, thankfully, that middle 3D section as well, that is pretty fun there too. I do like that. Doesn't hurt the pacing at all, thankfully. Then next up is, of course, the iconic Windmill Isle Day Act 2, a fan favourite level from Sonic Unleashed, and I can see why. Despite the level being so easy, so simple, it is so fun to just get a good time on this level. And there's one simple reason for that: Sonic's great physics and movement in Sonic Unleashed. Because when you really break it down, the level design in this level isn't actually that impressive. I mean, the 3D is basic as hell. You got a couple of branching pathways here and there, but it's mostly just boosting in a straight line through enemies and a couple bits of platforming. And then of course, as usual, the 2D carries in early game Sonic Unleashed, so that's something. But what really makes the basic 3D sections in Sonic Unleashed so fun is the movement, aka the drift. For those people that aren't aware, spamming the drift in Sonic Unleashed actually makes Sonic go faster. So by having a level with all these straight corridors of just enemies and whatnot, you can use the drift to your advantage here to go even faster. And this is yet again another reason why Sonic Force's linearity failed, because even though the game has a lot of straight lines, it could have been more interesting with, say, like a drift or something, but no, it doesn't have a drift because it's just boosting in a straight line. I guarantee putting a Forces level in Sonic Unleashed with this game's drift would make it 1,000 times more fun, because of the simple fact that, yeah, movement makes a Sonic game better. You can have the greatest level design in the world, but if you don't have the great movement to go along with it, it won't feel that great to play. Which is exactly why games like Shadow Generation, despite the level design of those games actually being pretty solid, the controls and physics hold the entire level back completely. Because when you have a straightaway in Shadow Generations, you're just boosting and just waiting for it to end. But let's say this was Sonic Unleashed, in this straightaway right here, you'd be drifting to go even faster here. And it isn't like doing this drift spam right here is mindless, because you can use the speed that you gain from the drift to enter 2D sections faster to get more speed, then to even go through turns a lot faster with the speed gained from it previously. Like, there's a lot of depth with the Sonic Unleashed drift that I feel people don't really realize because they're so whiny about, oh, it doesn't turn as easy as Generation because I need to use skill to use it, meh. But yeah, overall, yeah, Windmill Isle Day Act 2, great level, but only because of the movement in this game. But now moving on to Skyscraper Scamper Day Act 1, and I'm gonna keep it real with you, I don't think this level is as good as people make it out to be, because this level brings up the point from earlier about the pacing issues. The first half of this level is pure brilliance. You've got so much good 3D platforming here, mixed in with some good 2D. But as soon as you hit this QTE launch right here, the level goes downhill, because we have 30 seconds of Sonic Dash. Why? Genuinely, why? You get both the Interceptor and the Aero Chasers back to back in this level, and it feels very unnecessary and honestly like they were cutting corners, and to be honest with you, they probably kind of were. Because out of every single level in Sonic Unleashed, I feel like Empire City Day has the least amount of charm. Like, despite me liking Holoska Day less than this one, that level at least has charm in it compared to this one. And what's weird is I don't think that Empire City Night had the same issue, it's just the daytime version of Empire City. And I think the reasoning for the entirety of all this is probably because Empire City was like a last minute addition. I mean, just think about it. It's not in the PS2 version for starters, so obviously things got cut for a reason. And then there's not a single cutscene that takes place in Empire City. And then the story reason for Sonic even going to this country is just because Pickle says there are some robot sightings here, Sonic. Go check it out. See, I think because Empire City was so slapped on in development, unfortunately it means that the daytime version of its level is kind of underbaked. Because after 30 seconds of Sonic Dash, you get a cool rail segment, then boom, the level's over. If this level was the same exact length as it is now, but Sonic Dash was replaced by some actual 3D gameplay, I would have easily given it the S tier, but unfortunately the pacing is everything, as we said earlier, and yeah, unfortunately this stage suffers because of that issue. But yeah, next up we have Rooftop Run Night Act 1. What a level, man, I tell you, what a level. This level really is just a journey in itself. I mean, you start out in the little town down below, then you make your way through the streets fighting hordes of enemies until you reach the bottom of the clock tower. Then you go inside the clock tower, climb all the way to the top, then look around as you see the entire town below you. Then you cross the massive gap from the clock tower to the little roof over there, and boom, that's the level. The entire build up to the clock tower just makes actually doing the clock tower itself even more satisfying because the combat has already been done in the streets down below. Now it's just time for straight platforming. And there's not a single pace breaking section in this entire clock tower, making it one of the most fun segments in the entire game. This is exactly how every single Werehog platforming section in the game should have been. Nothing to break the pace, good flow, and some good length to it. So yeah, not really much to critique on this level, honestly. Like, even though there's some pace breaking stuff down below, and not much platforming down below either, I think it kind of works because it segments it all out. You get the combat and the puzzle solving down below, then obviously the massive clock tower is all the platforming. Pretty much a perfect level for what it's trying to do. But now, next up, we have Cool-Edge Day Act 2-2. And this is where the 2-2s really get more interesting, because it takes the concept of the original level and just bumps it up 10 times more in terms of difficulty. The first lap of this level is all about timing homie attacks. Then the second one is all about the bobsled, and even though I said earlier that I don't like the bobsled all too much, I can accept it here because it's actually a whole lot more engaging because you're doing a lot more platforming with it. Then in lap 3, it's all about stomping and a bunch of water running. And yeah, all these 3 laps combined make for a truly great level. It's got a good difficulty, which I do appreciate a lot. And then right after this level, we have Cool-Edge Day Act 1-2. And this is a major improvement over the original level because despite once again the pacing being an issue, the bobsled sections have been improved to make it more engaging. And then what they've done to the boosting sections is quite commendable. That first 2D section has so much flipping flow to it, it's actually unreal. And then there is just so much to avoid in the 3D sections that it's just so much fun to play. So yeah, overall, major improvement over Act 1 from the original level. Right, next up we have Savannah Citadel Day Act 1-2. Pretty much the same level but more difficult. Now, despite the first 3D section getting a bit more obstacles in there, the third one unfortunately gets 0 upgrade. There's a couple enemies there now, but you just blast through them anyways, so it doesn't really change anything. Yeah, the 2D is a whole lot more engaging, and then that middle 3D section as well, a whole lot more engaging too. There's not much more to really say here. I mean, it's the same level that I've already talked about, but better. Then same goes for the next level, which is Windmill Isle Day Act 2-2. Same level again, but this time more difficult. And something that's kind of cool about this level is that usually all the unintended shortcuts that we thought weren't intended from the original level have actually been turned into intended ones here because there's some rainbow rings now. And hitching them every single time feels oh so satisfying. Right, next up we have probably one of the most craziest DLC levels in the game, which is Windmill Isle Day Act 1-2. They turned the simple 30-second tutorial level into whatever the hell this is. You start out at the ending of the original level, go back to the beginning, then get sent to the sky to do some more 2D stuff there, then get sent back to the beginning of the original level and go run to the ending once again. Flipping crazy. Yeah, the 2D sections here, all great. Now, despite the one in the middle being kind of slow, there are ways to speed it up though, which I do kind of appreciate, so it's not that much of a pace breaker because you're still doing stuff actually to engage with it, but it's not amazing either. Yeah, the 3D sections here aren't too amazing, I will say. There's like one enemy section which can get quite annoying because there's one spring in the way. But then for the other 3D sections, it's mostly just boosting in a straight line, kinda. And you can't use the drifting to advantage here too much either because there's a lot of things to actually avoid in the way too. See, I think overall the 2D kind of carries here, but the 3D is still pretty decent. Right, next up we have Skyscraper Scamper Day Act 1-2. Again, same level but more difficult, and unfortunately the pacing still hurts the level, so not much to say about it here really. Right, next up we have Skyscraper Scamper Night Act 1. I don't want to hear it, this stage is great. This level has this constant great platforming and great skips to pull off. If you're good enough at this level, the only enemies that you need to fight is one group of enemies right here, and then the final titan at the end. Everything else can be skipped using the Werehog's movement. It's simply just 3 minutes of constant movement with the Werehog, and for that, I really do just love it. There are some tiny pace breakers here and there, but nothing to really tarnish the level's quality. And what makes it even better is that this level actually has difficulty to it. It's not an easy level to master. You will get aided here and there.
Can we get a quick hurry? Let's see. Why is he not locking on? Oh my god!
And that's just the Empire City aids for you, mate. But now, for the final Werehog level on the tier list, we have Coolidge Knight Act 1. Honestly, this level and Empire City Knight are pretty much on the same level for me, but what makes Coolidge Knight better for me is honestly, I think the vibes. Something about seeing an ice level at night just feels so much more, I don't know, vibey to me than just seeing a random city at night. But I think the main reason that this level is actually so close to Empire City Knight is because of the pacing. Empire City Knight has so much flow that this level does not have, and I'm going to let you take a guess as to what the reason for that is. That's right, the stupid camera pans. Pretty much every single thing you do in this level will result in a slow camera pan that halts all movement. And my god is it so flipping annoying. Once again, playing a modded version of this level is so much better because all that pace breaking camera pan stuff is all gone. If all the camera pans in this level were gone, I might have considered giving it the S tier. Not even gonna lie to you, might have considered it, but no, not in its current state unfortunately. But yeah, the platforming in this level, the combat in this level, it's all pretty fun. I do like how the platform is actually integrated into the environment because you got platforming on icicles, falling icebergs, you're melting down ice with all the fire enemies around here, like it all makes sense here. I want Frontiers 2 to be like this, integrate all the platforming so it makes sense with the environment that it takes place in. But yeah, overall, Coolidge Knight Act 1 is definitely my favourite Werehog level in the game. I really do just wish the pacing was better because again, this could be the difference between an A tier level and an S tier level. But now, next up, we have The Wretched Country, Dragon Road Day Act 1. Definitely a top tier daytime level in Sonic Unleashed because they actually introduced some 3D platforming here. Something you don't see every single day with Sonic Boost gameplay in this game. And I've seen some people say that they actually don't like the 3D platforming in this level because it's just pace breaking, but for me personally, I find it to be quite enjoyable. There are so many ways to make it go faster and just to time all the cycles perfectly. And then if you're good at using the homie attack, you can actually skip pretty much a lot of the platforming here as well. And then as well as that, the 2D here, pretty good as always in this game. And you got some nice water running sections here too. So yeah, overall, Chunan Day, a great level. Only thing really holding it back is that final section with the Interceptor, but at the very least, it's not pace breaking because it's at the end of the level. But now, next up, we have Rooftop Run Day Act 1, the stage that everybody knows Sonic Unleashed for. It's this one, no doubt. And while I don't agree with the sentiment that this is the best level in this game, it's still a great level regardless. This level just once again oozes flow. The 3D in this level is all about using your fast reaction time to avoid obstacles, and then the 2D is all about fast platforming. But two things in my opinion hold this level back. First of all, the pace. Those Aero Chaser sections. I feel like the last one I can kind of forgive because again it's the end of the level and honestly it's kind of fun, but I think the one in the middle was kind of unnecessary. I do understand that the first one is there for kind of like a tutorial for the rest of them, but again, they're not that interesting of a section really. It's just Sonic Dash at the end of the day. And it's not like these sections are so complicated that it even needs a tutorial in the first place because all you do here is just avoid the lasers, hit the enemies into the other enemies and boom, that's pretty much about it. And if you aren't using QSS to go any faster here, they're also so damn slow. Because I haven't mentioned it yet, but in every single one of these Sonic Dash segments, Sonic's top speed is halved here unless you use QSS to go faster. And for people who choose not to use QSS or just don't even know how to use it, they are a bit of a drag. And then going on to my second issue with this level, I think it's a bit too easy. And while I don't think that the lack of difficulty here makes the level that much worse, I think just adding a bit more here and there would have been nice. But unfortunately, when they tried to make it harder in this game, I don't think it worked out too well, which is why next up we have Rooftop Run Day Act 1-2. When it came to making Rooftop Run Day Act 1 harder in this game, I feel like they just started tricking stuff for the ones decided to see what stuck because this level, even though it is better and more enjoyable than the regular Act 1, it's not by much because all the spike placements here feel like are just a bit random. And you can especially see it in that skydiving section because, brother, what is this? How does anybody get through this unscathed consistently? it's just luck at this point. And then of course, because it's still technically the same level again, the pacing issues with the Arrow Chaser section still exist here, so overall, it's still technically better than the regular Act 1, but it's not as good as it could have been. And the same goes for the next level, which is Arid Sans Day Act 1-2. This level right here is what people actually mean when the Sonic Unleashed DLC just chucks random spikes everywhere and just makes it more difficult that way. Because that's exactly what this level actually does. Usually the Dash 2s put spikes in meaningful places, but I don't feel like that's the case with this one in particular. This puts spikes and stuff in so many places that kind of ruins the flow the original level had, which is a big minus. Because as we go to the top of the A tier, we have Arid Sans Day Act 1, a level with fantastic flow to it. That was unfortunately lost when they started chucking random spikes everywhere in 1-2. We're talking about the actual level. It's actually just brilliant, honestly. It's brilliant. Despite there being basically no platforming in 3D here, all the obstacles are actually thrown at you here to make you react fast enough, more than make up for it. And unlike in 1-2, the obstacles here you can actually avoid. And we haven't even mentioned the 2D sections here yet either, because even they have so much flow and so many cool little shortcuts as well that you just never even know are there until you actually just go ahead and try it. Genuinely, the only thing hurting this level is the fact that it's so short. It's only 2 minutes. And for a level that is this good, that should honestly be a crime. If this level was this longer, it might genuinely be one of my favorite Sonic levels of all time. Because the flow, the reaction stuff, the great 2D is all here, but it just ends too quickly in my opinion. Like genuinely, if you dislike this stage because it's too difficult, then skill issue mate, get good honestly. This level is great and you are the problem here. But now, starting off with the bottom of the S tier, we have Jungle Joyride Day Act 1-2. Another 1-2 which kind of fumbles the bag a bit honestly. The reason it's even in S tier is because it was built on such a great base. But comparing it to the original level, it's inferior in nearly every single way. Because what's funny about it is that usually these DLC levels make the stages harder, but for this one, I feel like it made it easier. I mean, for example, the opening section of the original, there was nothing to allow you to recover, you just had to be good at the game. But then in the 1-2 version, there's so many dash pads at the end of all these docks here that if you even try to fail, you're gonna get saved instantly. And for this being basically the final daytime level in the game, I don't like it being easy like this. The reason the original level was so good was because it was challenging as hell. And for them to just slowly start taking it away in some sections, I'm not really a biggest fan of that honestly. The one substantial thing this level actually does for me though is there's one set piece near the end of the level that wasn't in the original where Green Hill starts to look a bit more like a sandy hill of some sorts where Sonic runs on the side of the waterfall. And then you do the entire ending of the level backwards. And I will admit, that is actually pretty cool. I did actually quite enjoy that section. But apart from that one section there, yeah, it's just pretty much the same level, but kind of easier. What certainly is not easier than the original level is Dragon Road Day Act 2-2, the only side act which made it to the S tier, and for good reason. This is one of the greatest 2D levels in a Sonic game period. Not even just Boost, but including classic levels as well. This is one of the best 2D levels of all time. Usually in these 2D levels in Sonic Unleashed, there are 3 laps. But not with this one, because this time there are 5 laps. And every one of those laps is this constant action, whether it's timing homie attacks, timing wall jumps, QTEs, light dashes, platforming, you name it, it is here. This level is so bloody difficult to perfect, and it's so good when you do perfect it that you just can't help just loving the level after that. It takes everything that the original level actually did and just turns it up to 11. But the next level on this list makes this 11 look like a 9, as we go into Dragon Road Day Act 1-2. That's right, the fabled 1-2. And what a massive improvement over the original level for me personally. 3D platforming has turned to literally 11 this time. If you thought the platforming in the original level was difficult, then my god, you're not going to survive here, mate. This is actually brutal in that first section. Trying to get a good cycle on a perfect run of this level is flipping difficult as hell, but I'll be damned if it isn't satisfying as hell to master. But now for the second to last level on the tier list, we have Jungle Joyride Day Act 1. I mean, come on, the best daytime level in the game. It's got beautiful visuals, great difficulty, even better length. Now, even though it has Arrow Chaser sections and the Interceptor, what this stage does that Empire City Day does not is firstly has a section in between those two, and then on top of that, after the Interceptor section, you still got the second half of the level to go because this level actually has length, which Empire City Day does not. But yeah, while overall this level is not perfect, it is pretty damn close to being perfect, so for that reason, it is the second best level in the game, which leaves us with 1, which of course it has to be Eggman Land, the best level in the Sonic series, honestly. I don't care what you say, or it's too difficult, or I don't like the Werehog. I don't care, mate. Shut up. Eggman Land is everything that I look for in a final level in any video game ever. It's challenging, it has great atmosphere, and then it takes everything that you've learned from the entirety of the game and puts it into one level. You've got 3D platforming here. You've got the bobsled sections, fast QTEs, quick 2D platforming, difficult combat with the Werehog platforming with so many skips to pull off. What makes this level even better is the replayability aspect to it as well. Just that first opening daytime section in Eggman Land has so many damn layers to it. You can beat that first section in about 45 seconds or 2 minutes depending on which pathway you take. Like, I don't think it's even talked about enough how good that first section of Eggman Land truly is. If people want to credit Generation so much for having pathways in Seaside Hill Modern, where is the Eggman Land praising that first section? Where is it, bro? I want to know, because it's so flippin' underrated. What makes this stage even better is that it leads straight into the Egg Dragoon, which is just the cherry on top of it all. But that being said, that is the end of this video. So that was my ranking for every single level in Sonic Unleashed HD. Now if people actually want to see it, I'll consider doing a Sonic Unleashed Wii tier list at some point, but it won't be anytime soon because I don't like that game very much, honestly. But let me know your thoughts on my ranking. How much of this list do you agree with? Let me know down below. Love to see what you guys have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, especially that last one. Don't forget to become Unleashed by pressing that join button down below. Remember, it's not necessary. And I will see you all next time. Peace.